In its very simple terms, this was a case about a wrongful conviction, but it was a wrongful conviction involving one of the most iconic events in the history of the city of New York. It was the sexual assault of a woman who became known as the Central Park jogger back in April 1989. Immediately, the police focused on a group of young men who had been in the park, whittled it down to 5: Kevin Richardson, Antron McCray, Raymond Santana, Corey Wise, and Yusuf Salam, who they then charged with the sexual assault, the rape, and the attempted murder of the Central Park jogger. And there was never any forensic evidence that connected any of these 5 kids with this crime. A remarkable thing happened in 2002, which is that the person who actually did the crime came forward and confessed his DNA matched the only sample found on the woman, so it clearly, beyond any shadow of a doubt, that he actually assaulted and raped this young woman. A civil case was filed in 2004. We litigated that case then for almost 11 years until finally it was settled back in 2014. One of the biggest questions that was raised throughout the case was this a case about race, or was it simply a case of the police had the wrong people and made a mistake? You have to ask yourself, how did these officers get these 5 young men to admit to doing certain things, which then became the substance of their false statements and their confessions, if in fact they were innocent? It was clear that assumptions were made about these young men because they were young Black and Hispanic kids. The mostly almost all white detective force and all white district attorneys, that they wouldn't have made about their own children. They failed to make even the most objective examination of the facts here. You had 5 statements that were internally inconsistent on every major aspect of the crime. It was an intentional act of serious misconduct, which they have refused to acknowledge all these years, and which seriously damaged the lives of 5 young men and their families. As the case went along, there was a lot of public support for the city resolving the case in favor of the plaintiffs, particularly the Black and Hispanic community, that this is an injustice and it should be resolved. That was assisted by the fact that there was a movie made of the case by Ken Burns called the Central Park 5 that made the case for the fact that they were innocent and did so in a very convincing way. And then, of course, the change of administration. They saw the movie, they heard the evidence. We talked with them extensively trying to resolve the case, and eventually they did the right thing. After they got out of prison, they all have spoken quite eloquently about their experience. They've done it amazingly without a lot of bitterness and rancor. They've been very involved in working with the Innocence Project, working with people who are wrongfully convicted to try to get their cases resolved favorably as well. And I teach government misconduct at a law school, and it's important for me to use this as an example to inspire them to say, you can change the world, you can do good, you can have an impact. And a grave injustice was done. I believed in my clients, and it was the journey that was important here, the journey to vindicate them. And if it couldn't be done in the court of law, we would certainly do our best to do it in the court of public opinion. So I think we, fortunately, were able to do it in both.